Hello everyone and welcome back to Towergate. It is Towergate day number 722, Friday, March the 15th, 2019. Thank you so much for tuning in. Alrighty, well, it's a big news day today. We have a lot to talk about here, so let's go ahead and get right to it. Well, as most of you know, there were 12 Republicans who voted against Trump's securing the border, voted for the bill to keep Trump from exercising his authority to secure the border. In which case, now he's going to have to use a veto. Shouldn't have to do that. These 12 Republicans, and I expected 2 or 3 of them, didn't surprise me, but I got to say I was pretty surprised at several of them. I'm not going to go through the whole list, but just the ones that we follow mostly here. Marco Rubio voted not to secure the border, to screw the president, right along with Rand Paul, Mitwit, Willard Romney, Toomey, Mike Lee, and Roy Blunt, and about 7 more. So, much bigger defection than I thought. I was expecting 4 or 5. No, here we have 12. And what does that tell us? That tells us that Twitch McConnell, there was also like 3 or 4 Republicans that didn't even vote on it. So, this tells you that Twitch McConnell is playing games. Twitch McConnell is playing games. Twitch could have delivered. He might have been. He could have lost 4 Republicans and avoided the presidential veto. Mitch could have delivered. He did not, because Mitch doesn't want to secure the border. That's the bottom line. Twitch McConnell, keep that in mind, Kentucky voters. I do believe he's up for re-election in the next election in 2020. I do believe Twitch is up in 2020. I think he is. Keep that in mind, Kentucky voters. And I hate to say it, but Rand Paul as well. Sadly. I was a huge supporter of Ron Paul. Worked on both of his 2008 and 2012 campaigns. I was an alternate delegate in 2012. Precinct leader in 2008. Ron Paul is a damn good man. I wish Rand were more like him, because I believe Ron Paul wouldn't have done this. Because Ron Paul, while he was principled, he always looked at the end result. And he cast a lot of votes he didn't like over his career. Ask him. He'll tell you about probably every one of them. And he'll say, okay, I didn't really like this vote, but here was my choice. And I looked at the overall end result. And even though I didn't like this, I thought it was better to vote for it, or better to vote against it, or whatever. To go against, really, not so much his principles, because he has a larger principle. He has these constitutional principles. To the Constitution, we understand all that. But he also was pragmatic enough to say, yeah, this is probably against my constitutional principles, but ultimately, because we're dealing with politics and things here in Washington, this vote will produce the best result, even though it may not necessarily compromise a principle, but it doesn't exactly work with the principle I have. But I have to make a choice based on more than just my own personal principles. Sometimes there's a larger issue at play, especially in Washington, especially in politics, especially in this particular climate. I believe that Ron Paul would not have voted that way. That's just my opinion. Could be wrong, but that's my opinion. Very disappointed. Little Marco didn't surprise me. Of course, Nitwit Willard didn't surprise me. Mike Lee, he's, So anyway, let's move on. You guys, we know what's going on there. Trump's going to veto the bill. They do not have enough votes to stop the veto, and he's going to get it done. But he shouldn't have to do it that way. Shame on you, you slimy, wimpy, cowardly Republicans, including the biggest one of them all, Twitch. Twitch McConnell. Vote his ass out. Sick of him. He was in cahoots with Paul Big Ears Ryan. I can assure you of that. Well, Doug Collins has done it again. He's released the transcripts of the interviews with Peter's been stroking us. So we have a lot of reading to do over the next few days. I can tell you, I haven't even hardly gotten started on the Lisa Page stuff. It took me 2 or 3 days to go through the Orr stuff. And then the page comes out. I've been so busy at work, I have not had time to even look at it. I've just been trying to see what other people are finding. And now we have Peter's been stroking us. So there's a lot to look at. I'm sure there's a lot of people, Jeff Carlson and others like that, probably looking at that right now. And we'll see what comes out of that. But there's a few things that's already come out, and I'll be getting to that later in the video. So good work, Doug Collins. I guess the thing I'm curious about is why now and why not earlier? You know, if the Republican chair or the head of the committee or the ranking Republican has always been able to release these, why now? Why not sooner? Very curious about that. Well, we are learning from, I got this from the Epoch Times. It appears that Uncle Bob the executioner, nor the Inspector General Michael Huckleberry Horowitz, neither of them investigated Peter's been stroking us and his comments to Lisa Page about his vows to stop Trump. We're not going to let him win. We'll stop him, you know, the whole 9 yards. And Peter's been stroking us has basically said, and I believe it was Ratcliffe again who asked him the question if Uncle Bob or the IG ever asked him about those texts and the political nature of those texts or anything like that. And Peter's been stroking us replies, no. Uncle Bob nor Huckleberry Horowitz said a word to Peter's been stroking us about the political nature of the comments he was making. Why shouldn't that surprise us? And on the heels of that, we're learning that Andrew Weissman, the pit bull for Uncle Bob the executioner, is leaving the Mueller probe. Apparently going to teach at New York University, which means he's not just leaving the Mueller probe, he's leaving the DOJ. He's going in to teach at New York University. Now, there's a lot of rumors swirling around here, and I don't know how much of this is true or not, but if you remember, Jim Jordan and Meadows sent a letter to Attorney General Barr about 3 weeks ago and asked him to investigate the Andrew Weissman's conflicts of interest, being on the Mueller team. And they had asked that AG Barr answer their letter and respond to them by March the 15th, which is today. And so a lot of people are thinking that maybe it's a response to the letter that Jordan and Meadows sent to Barr to have him look into any conflicts of interest that Weissman would have had. And here it is the day before the 15th, and we learned that Weissman is going to be leaving. So a lot of people are suggesting that it was AG Barr, Attorney General Barr, who may have forced Weissman to step down or leave the Mueller team. Some people are saying it's just because it's the end of the Mueller witch hunt. I don't know what's true, but I imagine if we get some sort of document or some sort of report or some sort of response from Barr to Meadows and Jordan, and they release that information, we'll probably get a better idea of whether or not Barr had anything to do with Weissman's exit, or whether it's just coincidence. Because we have, let's see, Jack Posobiec saying that Barr gave Weissman the boot. It's also being reported on the Daily Caller. I didn't look at the writer. But I know the Daily Caller also had that because that's where I originally saw it. And then now we got Jack Posobiec saying that that's exactly what happened, that Barr gave Weissman the boot. I think we'll probably find out whether or not that's true or not. Probably won't take long either. Next couple days, if not by tomorrow. Well, look what we have here. It appears that Bobby O'Rourke, the skateboarder, has announced that he's running for president. He'll be number 11 in the field. And we have Biden coming out today and saying, why wouldn't I run? Well, you know, Joe, I can think of about 100 reasons why you shouldn't run. But getting back to Bobby O'Rourke, the skateboarder, we can assume that he'll enter the contest running on the Karl Marx strategy, running on the Karl Marx philosophy. So he'll be joining 10 other Marxists, and I guess they'll all see who can out-Marx each other. So it's the Marx brothers and sisters, yes, and probably more comedy and more entertainment than was ever provided to us by the previously known comedic team, the Marx Brothers. These Marx brothers and sisters are far funnier, believe me, and far stupider, by far, even though I believe Mr. Marx lost most of his fortune in the stock market collapse. But, let's see. Yeah, so, does Bobby O'Rourke, the skateboarder, actually believe that he has any chance of being president? Probably not, because if you go to his website, you won't find any policy positions, although he's commented on many things, and he's way to the left of the country, obviously. He believes we should tear down what existing walls we have at the border. He loves the Green New Deal. He supports all of it. He's definitely one of the Marx brothers and sisters, and he's running on the Marxist philosophy, no question about it. So that means we have 11 demo commies now running, and every damn one of them are running on Marxism. They're all running to the hard left. There's not a single centrist in the group. Not a single moderate Democrat in the group. Nothing that would resemble a blue dog. So, Joe Biden, you know, that's why I'm saying Joe Biden sit back scratching his head and going, isn't it strange? Because normally, in a field of candidates, especially when you got 11 and probably more to show up, they try to stake out different, positions somewhere. But these are people who are all hard left. And there's no one occupying the center or a moderate or anything like that. So you would think that Biden would go, hey, this is great. I got 11 people running as Marxist. I'll just come out and run as the centrist, and I'll blow all these people away. The problem is, they're showing that if he enters the race tomorrow, he'll be at about 25%. That's a minority. That means the other 75% want a Marxist. And that's what's got Biden questioning what he should do. Because he could embarrass himself very badly. Remember, Biden has run twice before, and I don't think he's ever got more than 1%. So, he knows he's not a great candidate. He's old as dirt. He's white. He's part of the corporate class. So what's Biden going to do? Come out and take the centrist position, the moderate position, and find himself being destroyed by the SJWs and the far left? Or is he going to compromise and come out himself and join the other 11 Marxists? You see, I don't see how he wins here. He either runs as a Marxist and he's just in a group of Marxists, he'd be the number 12 Marxist, or he tries to run as a centrist, in which case he's Hillary Clinton. He's essentially Hillary Clinton. So I don't see how Biden wins here. He should stay out of it, stay retired, enjoy his life. The only thing he can do by entering the race is embarrass himself. And quite honestly, I look at it this way. If the Rotten Reverend Clinton doesn't jump in, then she's the only one I think that could change the game. But Biden, I don't think, can change the game. I really don't. And if I look at the field now, I think that Bernie is probably going to be your top guy. Because all the other ones are trying to be like Bernie, but he was the original Bernie, right? And he's got a pretty hardcore group, 25-30%. If they decide to go far lefty, a lot of these are going to fall out. Bernie can hang around because he's got those people that donate to him. He can keep getting the money. But all these other people can't. The only person who may be an exception who can hang around is Kamala Harris. Kamala Marx. So you have Bernie Marx or Kamala Marx. That'll be your choices. Now Kamala Marx has a big advantage because the Democrat primary has been moved up to be the 4th primary. She won't have to spend any money at all to win all those delegates in California. She's going to inherit them essentially. So she doesn't have to have a lot of money. all those other candidates are going to have to somehow figure it out, because after the California primary, the 4th Democratic primary, a lot is going to be decided. A lot of people are going to be checking out. And I think that the only 2 people left standing with any numbers to move forward and any money to move forward after California will be Bernie and Kamala Harris. The establishment candidate will be there by then, and of course we'll see who that is. Maybe it is Biden. Maybe it's a rotten reverend. But, I mean, I honestly, if the Democrats do not find something that some way they can stop Bernie, I think it's very likely Bernie Sanders could absolutely be the Democratic nominee. He's got the money, and that's the big part of it, and he's got that solid 25-30% base of support. And that's how I see it. We'll see how that turns out. But Bobby O'Rourke knows he has no chance of winning. If you go to his website, you will not find any policy positions there. What you will find is merchandise. Maybe he's just trying to sell a lot of merchandise. But I think it's something more than that. I think Bobby, the skateboarder, is most likely trying to get a VP slot. I think he is running for vice president. He wants to try to position himself to be someone's VP. And I think that that's what you'll see him do. You'll see him watch the top 2, and he's not going to be one of them. He's going to be watching the top 2 and kissing their ass, hoping that when it all comes down, that he'll sashay into a VP slot. That's what I think. Let's see. Here's a good question that's people are now starting to ask based on recent testimony that's been released by Nelly Orr, and looking back at the Bruce Orr stuff as well. It's starting to become possible that, in fact, Confusion GPS and Glenn Simpson did not go out and find Nelly Orr. They did not recruit Nelly Orr. They did not go look for Nelly Orr. And in fact, it looks like it's very possible that Nelly Orr may have went and volunteered her services to Confusion GPS. She's suggesting that she was underemployed, had some available time that she could be doing something, and that she had learned about Confusion GPS. She had met Glenn Simpson earlier, knew about Fusion GPS, and it appears that she may have gone to them, that Nelly may have gone to Confusion GPS. And we know at the time she was doing work for both the CIA and the DOJ and SD, which was part of the 6-agency task force, John Brennan's secret group. It's starting to look like, possibly, that Nelly Orr was plugged in to Confusion GPS by Mr. Potato Head, John Brennan. Do you think that John Brennan plugged Nelly into Confusion GPS? And remember, everybody's focused on the FBI, and I said that's exactly where they'll be for now. But when they actually dig in and they start to get to the bottom of this, they are going to stumble onto the 6-agency task force, or the multi-agency task force, whatever you want to call it, which was started by Mr. Potato Head. And it was Mr. Potato Head, it was his intelligence operation that found its way into the FBI, and he admits that. He takes credit for it. He takes credit for that. Full credit. John Brennan takes credit for the information that was obtained by the FBI that came to them. He takes credit for making sure it got to them through multiple channels, including personally. He's the one who went and briefed Harry Reid twice. He briefed the Gang of 8. Mr. Potato Head. When we get to the bottom of this, we're going to find, again, Mr. Potato Head had a major role in manufacturing the false intelligence that ended up in the dossier, probably via Nelly Orr. That was probably Brennan's plan. And I'm sure there were others, such as Mr. Halper. That was one of Brennan's boys too. They definitely need to bring in Mr. Potato Head in front of a grand jury and ask him some questions. And I'm sure we'll get there. Well, of course, we're learning that Paul Ryan blocked Jordan and Meadows from issuing subpoenas. But we already knew that, didn't we? You know, kind of bums me out that when all this was going on, we all suspected it. Here I was doing Towergate videos, going off on big ears Eddie Munster Ryan. I knew what the hell was going on, couldn't prove it, and it kind of frustrates me that they waited until he left. See, they should have did this when he was still there. But then again, he could have punished him like hell, I'm sure. Could have kicked him out their committee, so I understand the risk there. But, you know, I wish somebody would have fallen on the sword and would have come out and said, hey, Paul Ryan is blocking us. Because everybody knew it. Now we know it. Know it. We knew it then, but now we know it. Know it. So there you go. Just as I said, big ears Eddie Munster Ryan blocking subpoenas the entire time. My oh my. I would charge his ass with obstruction and being part of the coup plot, which he was. Well, of course, we were expecting the Steele and David Kramer depositions from the BuzzFeed case to be released today, and I'm not sure if the Steele was, but I do know that the David Kramer deposition was released today. And boy, there's some juicy stuff here. Let's take a look at that. Keep in mind, David Kramer was Senator Magoo's right-hand man. His right-hand man did Magoo's dirty work, did the legwork for Senator Magoo. So David Kramer is admitting in his deposition that he had contact with a dozen reporters about things related to the Steele dossier. He met and spoke with, communicated with Carl Bernstein. In fact, gave Bernstein a copy of the dossier. Of course, you know he's the one who gave it to BuzzFeed, who then published it. He also gave a copy to Victoria Nuland and other NSC members, National Security Council members, including Celeste Wallander and Representative Adam Kinzinger, who's a hardcore anti-Trump neocon, like Kramer and McCain. Kramer says that Christopher Steele and Fusion GPS sought to use him and Senator Magoo as conduits to pass the dossier to the FBI because other people were passing it to the FBI were Democrats. So they wanted a Republican. Steele and Confusion GPS wanted to have a Republican who would pass the garbage dossier, described as the Steele dossier, which is actually the Glenn Simpson dossier, along with some help from Nelly and Mr. Baumgartner. So Steele and Kramer Steele seeks out Kramer and Magoo. They actually seek out Magoo, knowing that Kramer is his right-hand man, does his dirty work, because they wanted a Republican to be able to give it to the FBI instead of just a bunch of Democrats. Man, oh man, what an operation they were running. Kramer also says that Steele asked him to meet with Bernstein and BuzzFeed's Ken Benziger. So it was Steele who set that up. Carl Bernstein. I think Carl needs to answer some questions, don't you? He's all over CNN, running his big fat mouth. He never said anything about any of this. He's been going on CNN for 2 years, talking about this Trump-Russia thing. Never said anything about all his meetings with all these people who were involved in moving the dossier around through the State Department, through the FBI, through the media. So, yes, we need to be having a conversation with Mr. Bernstein. Bernstein, according to Kramer, had been in touch with Christopher Steele. Kramer met with Bernstein on Steele's behalf on January the 3rd, 2017. That's interesting, isn't it? That's pretty close to the date that Comey and Brennan and Clapper put together that little scheme to present the media hook that CNN would use to, that BuzzFeed would use to release the dossier and that CNN would use to do the report on it, the follow-up. That was all a very well contrived plan, and you can bet that Bernstein was right in the middle of it. He was the missing link. We were all trying to figure out, where is the link? Who's the link in there? From BuzzFeed to CNN, the Kramer guy, David Kramer, the dossier. Who coordinated that? Now I think we know. Mr. Bernstein. Mr. Bernstein, you have some questions to answer. In front of Congress, hopefully, publicly. Kramer also met with McClatchy and Peter Stone. Oh yeah, this guy. How many fake news stories has this guy released? More than I can count. They have no credibility whatsoever. McClatchy used to be okay when they first came out. They've been destroyed. Hardcore anti-Trumpers. And of course, now we know where they were getting their garbage. From Mr. Kramer. Kramer was spreading the garbage, was he not? Glenn Simpson informed David Kramer about BuzzFeed publishing the dossier. At which point Kramer said he called Benziger. Benziger, of course, the reporter at BuzzFeed, and told him to take the story down. Doesn't look like he did it. So Kramer says then he called Steele after the BuzzFeed published a dossier and refused to take it down. And he called Steele and told Steele that was happened. And Steele was shocked. Steele was shocked. Kramer then says that he lied to Steele about being the one that gave BuzzFeed the dossier. See what a dirtball this guy is? He goes over there, allows BuzzFeed to copy the dossier. Then, when BuzzFeed publishes it, he calls Steele and says, yeah, man, looks like BuzzFeed just published, the dossier. And Steele gets all freaked out. And here's David Kramer going, yeah, but I don't know. I don't know where they got it. I don't know who told him to publish it. I have no idea what's going on. Just letting you know. He was lying. There is no trust among thieves, my friends. None in the swamp. Steele's got to be feeling pretty good about where his position is these days, don't you think? How's he got to be feeling? He was never supposed to be outed in the first place. He has been outed. And now things are pretty rough. And he knows that eventually they're going to drag his ass over here, or he's going to do it by teleconference. He's eventually going to be deposed. And not by Uncle Bob. I mean by a real prosecutor or special counsel or someone. Steele ultimately is the guy. If there's one guy you want to have deposed, literally deposed, about the Spygate part of this, it's Christopher Steele. Because I don't think that guy's going to take a bullet for anybody. I honestly don't. Well, our good friends over in the UK, I feel so bad for him. Mike G had an excellent post, an excellent comment on yesterday's video, doing a great job of keeping us informed about what's going on over in the UK with the Brexit. The shenanigans that we've seen are just absolutely unbelievable. And today, we have Donald Tusk, of course, the president of the EU, suggesting that they should postpone the Brexit for 2 years, or like 21 or 22 months, close to 2 years. Man, oh man, if Theresa May goes to Europe next week and goes to Brussels and comes back with something like that to delay or postpone for 2 years, 21 months, whatever, oh my God. That might actually bring people out into the streets. There's no way they can have this turmoil go on for 2 more years. Something needs to happen. Something needs to happen. I mean, everything that Theresa May has brought forward is, 4 or 5 different types of resolutions now. They've all been voted down in major ways. I mean, the majority of Brits now agree that they should just Brexit, just like they voted for. If Theresa May comes back and tries to drop a 2-year waiting period or extension or whatever, that's a problem. That's a big problem. I can't believe that there's not going to be a lot of members of the Parliament in the UK not voted out in the next election. There's a lot of them have really turned on their constituents here. And I got to think there's a lot of anger out there. But, I mean, this thing has been tumultuous and enough turmoil as it is, dragging it on as long as they have. they need to either, poop or get off the pot here. You can't drag this out and put it in a state of limbo for 2 more years. I mean, that's not going to happen. That will not happen. I can't imagine that happening. But that's what Tusk wants, and he's an idiot, by the way. Well, from the Peter's been stroking us, that was just released today, or in your case, yesterday. It's going to take some time to pour through that. But one thing that's already popped up here is a testimony from Peter's been stroking us that he's saying that the Department of Justice blocked the FBI from looking at the Clinton Foundation emails. The DOJ blocked the FBI from looking at the Clinton Foundation emails. You see this DOJ versus FBI thing. We saw it before when McCabe and Rodenstein were kind of going at each other, and still pretty much are in disagreement. But we have disagreements with all these people. Comey disagreeing with Yates, Comey disagreeing with Lynch disagreeing with McCabe. I mean, we have all these, they can't all get on the same sheet of music. But one thing we are learning is they're definitely trying to play one against the other. The FBI is trying to say, well, it was a DOJ. Yeah, it was a DOJ. And then you have the DOJ say, no, it was the FBI and all those corrupt people over there. I mean, it's going to be a circular firing squad when the indictments start coming down. And I believe they will. But this is just another example that sounds a lot like what Luce Lisa Page testified to. And believe me, I don't trust Luce Lisa Page's testimony that much either. I think she told a lot of things that were true, but I think she also not necessarily lied about things. She's probably a little too smart for that. But I think there's things that she did not say or characterize in a way that, protects her bacon and people at the FBI. And kind of throws the DOJ under the bus. But there's enough consistency with some of the things she said with other people that we can, and now we get this from Peter's been stroking us, saying the DOJ was blocking the FBI from looking at the Clinton Foundation emails, just like we got from Luce Lisa Page saying that the DOJ would not allow the FBI to look at the 793, U.S. 793 violation, mishandling classified information. Would not do that. So when you look at this thing now, after having a couple days to let this soak around in my head, it's becoming pretty obvious to me that this is a big deal. This thing here regarding the DOJ blocking the FBI from being able to indict Hillary on the email thing is kind of bringing this whole thing back to Hillary's emails again. And that may be the thing that blows this whole thing up, which will open up the Spygate part of it and everything else. Because what do we have here? Let's ask a few questions. Who could have had the authority to tell the FBI to stand down and not charge the Rotten Reverend Clinton with mishandling classified information? Keep in mind, you're talking about Comey, and you're talking about McCabe, and of course Peter's been stroking us, and Luce Lisa Page. So you have these people, high-level people. It had to be someone at least at their level or higher on the DOJ side giving that instruction. And could that have been Yates? Possibly. But could Yates have made that call? Could Yates have said, yeah, you're not going to investigate Hillary even though you say you want to and she's committed the crimes? Could Lynch make that call? Sure, Lynch could make that call. But would they do that without Obama? Could that be done without Obama? Could that call have been made without Obama's permission, or maybe he made the call? Because McCabe's lawyer, Lisa Page, said that the Rotten Reverend Clinton should be charged. Comey's lawyer, James Baker, said that the Rotten Reverend Clinton should be charged. So could Lynch or Yates make that call? I would say no, probably to Yates. Yes to Lynch, but Lynch would not have made that call without Obama. So now the question becomes, what did Obama know, and when did he know it? He either made that call, or he was involved in the decision to make that call, that the DOJ, that the FBI would not be able to investigate or charge Hillary with the email crime. There you go. We'll be back tomorrow with more Towergate. Thanks so much for tuning in. See ya. Bye.